So we've got a massive shortfall in housing, massive demand. You can see that in rents and house prices at the moment. We have an influx of migrants. Business still reporting a skills shortage. The federal government saying they need to directly invest in things like energy and renewable energy in order to meet the target, but at the same time saying, actually, we can't afford to spend so much money on infrastructure. Those things do not make sense, do they?
No, I don't think that they do, and I will say that I think that the Commonwealth's decision in terms of infrastructure spending last week is poor in the short term and threatens to be disastrous in the long term. It certainly will see communities that have been crying out from investments from both the Commonwealth and the state go without. And equally, for New South Wales, it's especially hard because we are the state that is doing the most to accommodate the federal government's population policy, but we're not getting the requisite level of investment from the Commonwealth that would allow us
What's been the population growth over the last year? And is that mostly from migrants? Do you have a figure, a roundabout figure?
Well, yeah, I have the percentages for you. And these are three facts which I think your audience should know. New South Wales tends to accommodate 37% of new migration to Australia. Our population as a percentage of the national share is about 32%. But our percentage of Commonwealth investment is now at a low of 23%. And that is creating pressure on our ability to build the roads, the schools, the public transport that communities expect, especially at a time where we are welcoming so many people to our shores and we are welcoming so many people to our state. That decline in Commonwealth infrastructure spending, I've got to be clear, isn't a recent event. It's been dropping year after year after year, especially under the former federal government. But we've got to be upfront about what that means for communities. I'd say to the Commonwealth government, don't think about this as a Commonwealth state issue. Think about this as a responsibility we all have to meet the needs of our citizens, particularly in a lot of the growth areas of our cities in Sydney, in Newcastle, Wollongong and regional New South Wales.
So, two Labor governments here. Doesn't sound like you're working together very well.
Well, we were upfront before we were elected that we're going to put New South Wales first and we're going to make sure that we're fighting for New South Wales's share. I've said it last week, I'll say it again. We've been talking to the Commonwealth each day for their 90-day infrastructure review, which of course took 200 days. We've been talking to them about the challenges we face. We've been offering solutions to allow us both to meet our responsibility to our citizens. It's just not clear that the Commonwealth has been listening.
No, it's not. But I mean, and millions of people are essentially caught in the middle in New South Wales. So is this just going to continue like this, or what are you saying? You're going to pick up the bill and still build those infrastructure projects, or you can't?
I'd like to see a change in attitude from the Commonwealth. I mean, the reality is the Commonwealth has the bulk of the nation's taxation powers. They collect most of the nation's taxes. They are a critical intervener when it comes to these markets. We just want them to meet their responsibilities equal to the power that they have to help us build the communities people want to live in.
I just got to ask one question on behalf of builders, and it's something that I brought up at the Daily Telegraph Summit, and that was this planning portal that is required to be used in New South Wales. I mentioned that the Department of Fair Trading, I'm told, has a whole department within the department just to deal with complaints about this planning portal. Is anyone doing anything to fix it?
Yeah, the Planning Minister and I are onto it, as is, of course, the Fair Trading Minister. We are obviously listening to the very practical feedback we get for how the administrative structures of the Planning Department are going. I will say that both the Planning Minister and the Planning Secretary here in New South Wales, both of whom are relatively new to their positions, have already gotten cracking on simplifying a lot of the systems that are there. I'd also point out that one of the pieces of feedback we heard loud and clear clear from not just the building industry but the development industry and local government is about how many separate planning authorities there are in New South Wales. We have made a decision, for example, to simplify some of that by merging the Greater Cities Commission back into the planning department here in New South Wales.
Okay.
We've also removed other planning bodies, and in my budget, with the Planning Minister, we did set aside about $38 million just to be able to speed up the work that the Planning Department does in assessing it. They are working very hard. We hear the feedback. We are working with the industry to see how we can speed up these IT systems and these other processes so at least the current system can work a bit better.
And the portal, when can that be fixed?
Yeah, I've got to say, it's one of the IT projects that we are getting our thick into to understand how it can be made better. It does concern me that we have people who are having to manage this system in a way, and I've got to say, the Planning Department's doing a pretty good job of trying to make it work. One of the things I was told when I became Treasurer was that there was a bit of underinvestment in some critical IT systems, not just in the Planning Department but beyond. So I'm certainly not going to say that it's the fault of the Planning Department, but I do see the need for us to be able to simplify these platforms so people can get faster decisions.
Time frame?
Yeah, again, we're working through it. We're working through it, and I've got to say, Laura, if only IT projects could be fixed in months, but I can't make that commitment to you today because I think, let's be honest, these things are complicated and we have to get working on it, but I've got to say we're hearing the message loud and clear. Okay,
thank you, Daniel Mookhey. Thanks so much for your time. See you soon.
Thanks, Laura.